Welcome to ASMP Baltimore's In the Loop with J.M. Giordano.
But we're so happy to have Joe here speaking and talking about his upcoming things. But I just want to say hello to everyone. So don't be shy if you have, want to send a message or say something. So just want to let you guys know that.
All right. Well, thank you, guys. As Josh said, please direct all of your questions for Joe to Josh because he's going to be curating those questions and asking Joe in the second half hour of this talk. So before we hop into the loop with our guest tonight, J.M. Giordano, I just wanted to briefly explain what our new web series In the Loop actually is. Last year, when the COVID pandemic hit, a lot of us were focused really on just trying to keep our businesses afloat. And ASMP Baltimore, alongside of National, we're just trying to help people understand like the nuances of PPP and getting EIDL help. But this year, what we wanted to do is we wanted to start our own web series featuring artists who have a book coming out or possibly a gallery. I know a lot of galleries have moved virtually now, but that's how In the Loop was born. And so we also have a couple of different other ideas for webinar series coming out, so be sure to stay tuned. But now I'm going to hand it over to Joe here in a second. Joe Giordano is an award-winning photojournalist based in Baltimore. You may remember his work as the photo editor for City Paper. He is the co-host of a photojournalist podcast, 10 Frames Per Second, and his work has been featured in a bunch of places: NPR, ProPublica, Al-Jazeera, GQ, The Guardian, Discovery Channel, Rolling Stone. His work is also permanent collections at the Smithsonian Museum of African American History and the Reginald Lewis Museum downtown. Recently, he published a new book called We Used to Live at Night, documenting 25 years of nightlife in Baltimore. And tonight he'll be sharing with us photographs and excerpts from his new book. So Joe, welcome to In the Loop, and thank you for being here with us tonight. We're all super excited to find out more about your new book, so I will hand it off to you.
Thank you, Travis. And for those of you tuning in, we rely on viewers like you. We'll give you a tote bag if you join ASMP tonight. No, I'm just kidding. I just trying to lighten up. So yeah, thank you for having me. So this project, the We Used to Live at Night book, started 25 years ago. And tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of photographing at night. It's a very unique niche in photo history, but I want to start off by saying that there's one thing that I did a lot of research, and I teach at Baltimore School for the Arts. Full disclosure, I teach black and white photography. I teach darkroom, so I still shoot film, I still print. So the one thing that I noticed, like going through the research and looking up the history of photography at night, is that we have to acknowledge right off the bat that the nighttime photography is traditionally and historically a very white space, right? It's a very white privileged space to be able to walk around at night, unmolested and unbothered, without fear of, police and being harassed and walking through these spaces. I wanted to put that out there first because when you look at the history of night photography, it is a very white male dominated space. For instance, for over 100 years, right? 100 years of night photography, I could only find, two women. One I could barely find, and no virtually no photographers of color. And this is going through, Mexico, Manuel Alvarez Bravo, really looking through, and not just through, and I'm trying not to be Western Eurocentric, I'm trying to look at other continents, but this, tends to be a very, Eurocentric thing, this night photography thing, but also a very white space. And I wanted to start off with that because I just wanted people to understand that, Because the question I get is, oh, how did you get around to a lot of these spaces? And it's privilege. It's a privilege to be able to navigate through these spaces. A white guy carrying a camera, me carrying my camera, I'm not going to get stopped by a cop, in the middle of the night walking through a park. It's just not going to happen, And I know, I have Black friends that this has happened to during the day, walking around with a camera that, officers have stopped them thinking it's a gun or just to harass them. Like, I have friends that have posted about this recently. So this is not, some kind of woke thing or some kind, this happens. So I wanted to kind of kick this off just by saying that, because, the slides that I'm going to show you are all white photographers, and there's a reason for that, so I just wanted to kick this off, by saying that and acknowledging that the privilege allows me to walk around at night is that, especially, some of my pictures, are back alley shot. Imagine, a woman photographer walking around, in a back alley somewhere, that's just, I don't feel unsafe walking through a back alley like they would walking around, so it is a very white male space to be able to walk around. And I say that in my intro in the book. I do bring that up in the intro in the book. It's a very different feeling to be able to walk around at night like that. So I just wanted to put that out there first, because I thought that really needed to be said, full stop. So let's take a look at some photographs that I put together on the history of night photography. I kind of forgot all the white beardy guys. Don't worry about Stieglitz. He's got plenty of press. Really, the first real night photography was initiated by a woman in 1902, and she doesn't get a lot of press. I wonder why. She's actually considered one of the first photojournalists. Her name is, and this is a great name. Her name is Jessie Tarpot Beal. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys. Before we get into my stuff, I thought we could just delve into this a little bit. Okay, here we go. So, and this is Miss Beal's work. Now, she used, this is still around gaslighting. By the way, the first gas light in America was lit right here in Baltimore. It's still downtown on the block. It's at Baltimore and Commerce. The light's still there. First one in the country. So this is Jessie Tarbox Beal's work. It looks pretty modern, right? It looks pretty modern. She used magnesium powder. It's around 1902. Very early stuff. Very early stuff. You'll see a repeat of this stuff around very long exposures. You'll see the repeat of this stuff coming around the 30s. So she's considered the first real nighttime photographer. Stieglitz and the early guys played around with it. Daguerre even did like a 2-hour exposure of the moon. Didn't really turn out very well for obvious reasons. But she was the first one to really take the camera out with the magnesium powder and use it. So this is her work. We got here. Okay, now we're going over to Europe. She's American. So now we're going over to Europe, and we're going to talk about another underrated woman photographer. This is Germaine Kroll. And Germaine Kroll, we're going to get to the Brassai in a minute. He's kind of like the big name in nightlife photography with Paris by Night. But around the same time, around the 20s and 30s, Germaine Kroll was in Paris shooting, and in Berlin. She did a book called 10 by 10, like Nighttime in Berlin, which we know through printing records that Brassai definitely had access to. So of course, she doesn't get a lot of credit, and the guy does. Hey, surprise. And her work is actually a little harder to find. There's only 2 books of her work. She's considered a modernist, and I had to look really hard to find good enough resolutions to show you guys some of her nighttime work. So she was working probably, I would say, definitely with like a plate camera, probably not as big as an 8x10, more than likely a 4x5 camera. So this is her work, and as you can see now, you're going to start seeing, if you're familiar with like the Brassai work in the 30s, you're gonna see in these couple of pictures. I'm trying to condense it a little bit so we can get to the stuff you want to see. I'll just give you a little bit, but you can see the influence of her work on Versailles, which is going to come in a minute. Okay, so now we get into the work of Versailles. He's a Hungarian photographer, operated in the 1930s in Paris, highly influenced by André Kertész, also a Hungarian photographer. He dabbled in nightlife stuff, really taught Versailles how to do the nightlife thing. Versailles published a book called Paris de Nuit, Paris by Night. It was huge. It was huge. Malcolm Gladwell said, don't be first, be second or third. Versailles was kind of the third, and he blew up when this book came out. It's a very small book. It's spiral bound. It's maybe only 60 pages. It's about that big. The reason the pictures I chose to show you Versailles and why he kind of relates to what I started to do in 1995, because his work really inspired me in Baltimore, is he was the first photographer to really go in on the LGBTQ scene and the interracial scene in Paris, which absolutely nobody was covering at the time. He was kind of an outsider. He was invited in to these different clubs, same-sex clubs, and he photographed. He photographed in a lot of bordellos, places that were fringe. Some of these were so shocking that they weren't published until the 70s in a book called Secret Paris of the 30s. So we kind of leaned in a little heavy to his work here. This is all Versailles' work. It's very bon vivant, very lively. Ball scenes, night scenes. That's a page from his book, Paris by Night. And these are pictures at the time that nobody had taken before. That's why he was so big. That's why he was, quite the innovator. So now we go over to London and we look at a guy named Bill Brandt. And Bill Brandt, he's kind of a Versailles ripoff. He's more known for his industrial photography of like kind of northern UK area, Manchester, Yorkshire, steel mills. But he did a book about London at night, which are in these. I only pulled a couple of his. I'm not going to go into him too much, but I wanted to kind of give you a feel that this was kind of a wave sweeping through Western Europe and the UK at the time. So this is Brandt's work, London at Night. So now we come to, anyone want to take a guess where this is? Anybody? Anybody? Okay, so this is Barnes and Noble right here, over here. This is Harbor East over here. So we're looking at Baltimore. Yes, this is the work of Aubrey Bodine. Anyone know who that is? He was a local photographer. Now we're into the 50s. Now we're 20 some years after the 30s. All the Paris stuff is gone. Bodine did a lot of work at night. His daughter is executor of his estate. He's more known for his like kind of his quaint Chesapeake Bay, Baltimore City daytime stuff. There's never been that I know of a book of his nighttime work, but he did do a lot of work in the city. This is over off Park Avenue. This is Tyson Street, which looks exactly the same at night. This is Reed Street right here. So this is Tyson and Reed. I didn't know of his work when I was going around and doing my night stuff at all. He just wasn't, I just didn't know him when I was walking around with my little 35mm camera. He was using, of course, 8x10, 4x5. This house is still there. That doorway is exactly the same. These look exactly the same. All right, so that's Bodine. So that's a pretty good sorry, hold on. I'm trying to, there we go. Hop out of here real quick. So that's a quick look into the history of night photography pretty quickly. Does anybody have any questions so far about any of the stuff that we kind of looked at right now? Anybody want to throw anything out while I'm switching over to my work?
I'm just really, really grateful. I saw that work from the women photographers. If you could put their names in the chat, sure. That was incredible. And
Sure.
thanks for the reminder. Well, I'm familiar with Versailles, of course, and Brant. I'm familiar with them.
Right.
Absolutely. And it's nice to be reminded about Bodine too.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. You know, I teach. You know, when I teach history of photography, I tell my students, I'm like, you know, we're gonna give like kind of the old beardy men a break for a minute. You know, we talk about them enough, and you know, it's a shame because you know these photographers are only in obscurity for reasons that we know why, right? We know why. You know, we know why we don't say their names because you know it's all run by dudes. But yeah, you know that's a discussion for you know like a whole nother day. So let's all right, we got a little technical difficulty here because I don't know where mine went. Oh, Photoshop and actions. Don't trust it. Hold on, I gotta pull mine up. Just give me 1 second. Sorry about this. Yeah, does anybody else have any questions or comments while I pull mine up? I used an action on Photoshop and they're not in the folder they're supposed to be. So let me just pull the originals up. Sorry. It's gonna take me a second.
While you're doing that, can you give us the names of the women photographers again? So I just want to make sure I put it in the chat for everyone.
Yeah, here I can thumb into the chat real quick. So it's yeah, hang on. I'll do you one better. I want to put the links in that I pulled up so that way you guys can get a better feel. Here we go. Man, sorry for the kinks. I apologize.
It wouldn't be a Zoom meeting without technical difficulties, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know what I don't know. Stupidly I usually test everything, and I tested the first slideshow, and then I opened up all my TIFFs and I did an action into a certain folder, and there's only one picture in that folder. So now I don't know what the heck happened. I don't know where those pictures went, but now I'm gonna pull up. I'm just gonna pull up these TIFFs and then do it that way. So if you would just indulge me for 1 second, I do apologize, guys.
And did you want to answer any questions while you're doing that? Or
Yeah. No, I can do two things at once. I just hope that my slideshow opens up all these big ass TIFFs. There we go. All right. It's gonna take a second anyway, so there we go. Okay. All right. Good. That works. Okay. I'm just gonna share my screen and we're all set. Okay. Okay. So my series, We Used to Live at Night, that started back in '95. I had gotten a book from a vendor in Fells Point. This guy, Michael Cantor. He's still around. He owns a bookstore called Salamander Books. It's in Annville, Pennsylvania, which really is really weird because I used to live in Annville, which is very strange. He gave me a copy of Versailles, Paris by Night. And I thought Baltimore, being the older city, has some beautiful old architecture. I really wanted to do something that was do the city justice like Versailles had done for Paris. So I started walking around and I just started recording all these scenes, right? My equipment was a Minolta X700, shot with Kodak 3200 speed film, only because I wasn't so much a purist about using 4x5 and 8x10s. I don't have any patience. So standing around with like a 4x5 and an 8x10 camera, stroking my beard or whatever, I couldn't do that. I needed to be on the move. So a lot of my pictures are blurry. They're very kinetic. Like this one. This was taken at the end of the night, 2 a.m. at Friend's Bar in Fells Point. This is the bartender. She just like collapsed in the back. I told her, I got a shot of you. She's like, I don't care. So there's no face in it. It's but a lot of these are in motion. And I just started to collect these scenes. you know, and I wanted to go everywhere. I wanted to build a tapestry of this city at night, not just the hardcore scene or the hip hop scene, the drag scene. I had a lot of friends in the, you know, in the queer community. So I was invited to a lot of their spaces to hang out, and I always had my camera with me. I didn't use flash for any of these, even when I did digital. Actually, there's a few that I did use a couple flash, but the majority is no flash. Only because I think flash can be very intrusive. So I shot at a very high shutter speed. I mean, I shot a very high ISO, around 3200. Well, film definitely 3200. None of them are really pushed. So let's go through these pretty quickly, because I know we have about 10, 15 minutes, and then I'm going to open it up for questions. This is at Bertha. This is, you know, I'm a big jazz fan. I know it's kind of cliche, but I really love the work of Roy D. Carava. Did a book called The Sound I Saw, and you know, he really thought that jazz photography, you know, really shouldn't be this kind of static. It should really move with the music. You know, this is like one of the things I've always thought. And this is shot at Bertha's, and it just clicked. There's only one frame from this particular show, and this one particular picture just clicked. You know, this one, Tracy, I saw the. This was for you. I saw your Toulouse-Lautrec poster behind you from the Bal Musique. I waited for this guy was like walking around, dancing around like this, and it reminded me of that poster. And I waited for him, and he just put his leg up at the right time, just like that Toulouse-Lautrec poster. And I grabbed this. Is at the Belvedere at a party. So nothing operates in a void. I'll be, you know, everything comes from somewhere. There are a few crime scene photos throughout the book, and I had a really long discussion with quite a few of my friends who were photojournalists. I talked to Devin Allen. I talked to Shay McCoy. I showed Shay, and I went through the book. Reginald Thomas, he was City Paper photographer. He's a Spurs photographer now. You know, and I was encouraged to put these in to show that, you know, the city. This is really Baltimore, and the crime scene photos I put in that were edited into the book, they're not exploitive in any way. They're part of the city, but as less traumatic as we could put in there. So the way that they're put into the book, the way that my editor, she's in New York, put these in is there's a lot of party pictures, and then there'll be a picture of this, which is going on outside of all these party scenes. This is in East Baltimore. This particular scene is in East Baltimore. And there's not that many. This is not about that, but this is a reminder of what's going on in the city while all of these nightlife parties and dances and open mic hip hops and indie spaces are going on. So there's a few of these peppered throughout. When we did choose the crime scene photos, I did do a lot of work with shadow and light to evoke more of a mood. This is you know, one part of this project that I really, now that I find fascinating, is that some of these places aren't there anymore. This is in Federal Hill. This is a diner. It's been gone for 20 years. This place, now it's a bar, it's a corner bar, but this was the last shift right before they closed. I just happened to be walking. It's a 24-hour diner that's completely gone. I just happened to be walking by, stuck my camera in the window, and got him behind the counter on film. This is a Haven Place on the east side. I tried to get, again, you know, east side, west side. You know, this is not just about one scene. This is about all scenes. You know, and we put this particular picture in. I think it's, you know, a friend of mine. She's a sex worker. You know, I showed these pictures to her. She was like, "This is a pretty empowering photo." She really dug it, so in it went. There are some of the burlesque pictures in here that have dancers' faces in. I went to great lengths to get consent, like through social media messaging, direct messaging, Instagram. I went all over the place to track people down that I took pictures of, to get their okay before it went in the book. I just wanted to be. I'm a Libra, got to have balance, right? I can't have this. I can't can't have anxiety. I need to have my balance. So I had to go find everybody that I could and be like, is this okay? Is this all right? Can I get your opinion? So I had to put that out there, right? I can't have that. Can't have that on me. So yeah. This is 3200 speed. This is no flash. This was in the Library of Congress. This is another scene that, you know, I kind of tracked for a while, the underground boxing scene in the city. They had a lot of these bouts that were at union halls and places like that. And I was just fascinated by these matches, and I just showed up and just started taking pictures, and everybody seemed cool with it, you know. So this is one of my favorite pictures. I had such a great night one night. I was on assignment, and I had to go to Rope Walk, which is a very conservative bar in Federal Hill, and I got to watch President Obama get reelected at that bar and watch everybody collapse and cry and you know, the world's ending. And then I got to go up to Grand Central when they passed the Equality Marriage Act at Grand Central in the state of Maryland, and got to record that. So I got to record these two great things. And this was a night at Grand Central when I took this picture. This is at a bar in Dundalk. Again, you know, it's, you know, I included this scene, this cowboy scene, right? Just a scene in Dundalk. This is such a happy couple. I just put them in there. Future Islands. You know, this is kind of the white indie scene. Somebody in this picture is very high up in Marilyn Mosby's office. I was sent a direct message of, hey, that's me, in the crowd. I'm not going to say who. Just saying. One thing, you know, again, I really wanted to be inclusive with the project. So, you know, I did this series on these Asian breakdancers, and I went through all my hard drives. I know I got them. And I went through and I found them, and I put them in. And I have a friend of mine, she's Vietnamese, and she just saw these pictures and stopped. And she's like, oh my God, you know, wow. Like, I didn't even know we had Asian breakdancers in Baltimore. And just the fact that she stopped in these pictures just made me feel really good. Like, you know, that's what I mean about a tapestry of a city. And again, I don't represent anybody. I don't represent anything. I don't speak for anybody. I just wanted to show how broad these scenes are throughout the city. Like that's what I wanted to do with this book at night. Kind of the same way that Brasai did with his work, and just showed everything that he possibly could. That was my goal. Again, not speaking for anyone. I don't have an opinion on anybody. I just wanted to show all these across the board. The metal scene, obviously. These are some late nights. They had this thing in the mid 2000s that were called text only parties, where you would give a DJ that you know and trusted your phone number, and at about 2 o'clock in the morning, you would get a text, and it would be an address, and you would go to the address, and it'd be $15, and it'd be this warehouse and be full of people. I took my friend Brent, got this text, and it was behind Raven, put it into oldie MapQuesty, and went behind Raven Stadium, and there was this dude in the alley. I think he was carved out of the side of a mountain. He was about 8 feet tall, and he had a hood on, and he was just standing in there, and he's like, "Can I help you, gentlemen?" I was like, "There's the address." And he's like, $15, paid it $15. And he opened the door, and it was like something out of an HBO thing. It was just 500 people in a warehouse. And it was so organized that the bartender had a square and took cards. That's how organized it was. So you're never going to see those again. You know, you're never going to see those again. And so this series on the DJs is from all these text only parties. Again, and I do a lot with shadow and light in a lot of these, because again, you know, flash, I think can be very intrusive, and you don't use it. This is all in the exposure. So you get work like this. This is, again, part of the Baltimore scene. Now, these are furries. This is at the Transmodern Festival. They're a wolf pack. They came down from New York every year to join this festival. You know, again, no, I'm not, you know, I tell my students, I don't take sides, I take photographs. I'm not here to judge people. As a photojournalist, if you're a drug dealer or you just, it's not for me to judge. I'm not there. I'm there to take photographs. I'm there to get your story and get a portrait or do whatever. I've been in situations, I've been in kitchens taking pictures of, it's on my website, you know, people cooking it up. And they know that. They trust me not to snitch, not to turn. It's not my job to do that. My job is to record. So these people are like, hey, that's Joe, City Paper, boom, you know. And I wrote to them via Instagram. I was like, hey guys, I'm putting this project together, and they were just like, whoa, boom, please put us in there. You know, again, I just reached out, even though their faces are, you know, covered and things, just wanted to be sure. This is Clitorica. She's fantastic. I'm just gonna leave it there. She's retired now, but she was definitely down with being in the book. This is a fantastic drag show on St. Paul Street. Love her to death. She's great, but she's retired. This is the scene. This scene. Next couple of pictures. Baltimore had this fantastic. How am I doing on time? By the way, Josh, Trav, how am I doing? Okay. So I know we're gonna get some. We want to put some questions. There's a lot of pictures to go through, but so you cut me off. I don't want you to buy the book. So Baltimore had the Crown Award, and the Crown Awards was this just fantastic hip hop award show given by the hip hop community to themselves. And I just thought that was so great. It was such a positive thing. The people in the community gave awards, just had this great award ceremony, and it was held at Five Seasons. It was this place off Guilford Avenue. I was invited. I was doing some work for the guys that did music for The Wire for a minute. They invited me to this show. So these are details from the Crown Awards. You know, just very positive, joyful pictures. You know, which you don't see a lot when it comes to Baltimore, right? Like everybody outside the city, all they want is The Wire and homicide and burnt out buildings and things like that. You know, the one thing that a few of my friends that went through the book noticed was, you know, there's not abandons, right? These aren't pictures. These pictures aren't for that. You know, these pictures are about, you know, night and happiness and parties with the crime scene, but that's the real part. But it's not the thing that people export. Like the Washington Post comes up and it's abandoned building, or it's The Wire. You know, it's none of that. You know, it's none of that. So metal scene, dope body. This is one of my absolute favorite photos. This was taken 2019. I was going to say last year. This is after the Asian night market. This is the underground, they call it the underground alley party. There's like 200 people, 300 people crammed into this alley. Everybody in this photograph is just having a great freaking time. That's DJ Sean Smallwood over there on the side, you know, and just you're not going to see this again for, I mean, who knows, another 5-10 years for people to be this comfortable is what I mean, you know. This is, you can hear this picture. You can hear this picture.
Just a quick question. Is that Graffiti Alley?
That is Graffiti Alley. And as much as I loathed to shoot there, I had to go to take picture for Sean. I had a studio inside of this Load of Fun building. These are some of the burlesque nights. This is TT the artist. I don't know if you know her. This is TT the artist backup dancers during Escape. That's Show Decay. I love that shot. The Show Decay. Hey, Mally's here from the boxing. This is we used to have these, Baltimore had these open mic hip hop nights that were just fantastic. They were fantastic. It's interesting about open mic nights. There's a real racial contingent. People, you say open mic night and you think white indie rock, right? You think white, you know, folk music. So when you have open mic hip hop nights, it's a great, it's just great. It's really great thing. This was 95. This is a tobacco shop now in Fells Point. This is fab. This is a Studio 54 party. This is Carol. This is taken in, and this is on my Instagram feed. I won't put the other picture up, but this is taken in 95. Her daughter saw this, and Carol passed away in 2019. And her daughter saw this picture. This is at a bar in Fells Point called Bar. It's off one of the side streets. And her daughter saw this and went down there and took a picture, took a selfie of herself. That took a selfie in the same position in the same spot in the bar and posted it. So I've got these two together. I think I cried for like an hour. I don't care. I admit it. This is great. It's on my Instagram. I'm a big softie. I just put this in so you can see the contact, some of the contact sheets that that I worked with for the nighttime stuff. So this is right out of the camera. So the exposures are pretty good, I think. Goes everywhere from burlesque to the architecture. I did a lot of architecture at night, but my publisher Deb, she wanted to really focus on, it was either going to be not architecture or nightlife. It didn't really jive together. So there's actually like a second book in the architecture of nighttime stuff. This is kind of based on Robert Frank. I waited a long time for someone to come to this jukebox, and he did, and he was almost consumed by it. This is a 3200 speed film and about a 10-second burn on this detail down in here for all my nerds out there. This is gone now. These are condos. This is by my house. This is me walking at night. This is actually pretty recent. This is film. This is like 2009, I think, but still film. And if anybody's old school Baltimore, this is the barbecue. This is the Circle. This is down in Dundalk. This is fantastic. This was open until about 4 a.m. You get barbecue, but it was good. You know the deal. 3-4 a.m. It was good. This sign, by the way, is over in sign heaven at Second Chance, where all of Baltimore's neon signs seem to end up. This is one of I really like this photo. This was at Latin Palace, the night that they closed. This was their last dance night. And just the woman smoking a cigar in the cigar room and the woman in the painting really kind of goes against the cliche of like the guy in the cigar room and the Latin Palace and the fat Cuban cigar and the whole picture goes against the whole male stereotype with cigars. And she's having a great time. She got this great cigar and the big cigar room's lit up. So yeah. All these people late for class, that, like, what the hell, people? This is a great street scene in Fells Point. This is in 95. Just really liked the way I put him off to the side with that silver mask. Another one that I really dig. And this is a timeless photo. This is one of my favorites. One of my first ones. This is like 95. Great fight photograph. This is Michael Farley. He's actually one of the contributors of the book. He did an essay. I just love this one of him. He's a drag queen, more from the boxing scene. This is a better one. Sorry, because I didn't get to really edit out like I did. I don't know where those pictures went from my action in Photoshop, but yeah, this is a duplicate. This is a better. This is a fresh scan. The other one was a little contrast heavy, but this is a fresh scan of the other one.
Joe, I do want to allow some time for people to ask some of their questions.
Yeah. If
I'm enjoying this. I'd love you to keep going.
Yeah, but, these are all in it. So why don't I, because there's quite a lot. I don't know what happened with the ones that I saved. So these are all of them. So I'm not going to go through all of them. But yeah, so why don't we open the floor up?
Absolutely. Yeah. If anyone still has a last minute question, be sure to send it to Josh. I was just thinking, like, beforehand, I wanted to kind of know some of the photographers that you had on your bookshelf, but you named a ton of photographers for me to check out and get a book to accommodate yours when it, finally get it.
Oh yeah, I've got, these aren't even photo books. The photo books I have a big bookshelf in the hallway that are all the photo books. I have some pretty rare ones.
And I do have a question from
Go
Derek
ahead.
whenever you're ready.
Awesome. I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, go ahead, hit me.
All right, so it says, first, you are amazing at capturing raw emotion. Clearly, injustice upsets you. How did you become so aware of racially charged and social injustices that individuals in your position, white or, are typically not affected by? And what motivated you most to be a white ally and refuse to be silent about these injustices?
All right, that's a good question. That's pretty layered. So my mom, okay, so it goes way back. I was raised by a single mom. First of all, shout out single moms, y'all rule. And a disco queen at that. So I got disco and single mom, big thing. A lot of gay friends in Dundalk. Believe it or not, I think I'm the only kid whose mom had gay friends in Dundalk, right? Coming over all the time. Anyway, but seriously, so my mom worked at Bolton House Apartments over on the west side, which is right off Dolphin Street. And she just, between the tenants and her friends that she worked with, we were welcomed into a lot of houses and places on the west side on Sundays. And, I just grew up with having friends on, over on the west side. I went to summer camp. She sent me away for the summer. She's like, I ain't taking care of you all summer. So I went to summer camp all summer through the Salvation Army Boys Club. I just had a lot of friends from a lot of different places. And I think that is imperative to a kid's growing up, is to have those experiences from all those different places, like my mom, when I was little, this is a mom, instead of singing like, kids, like my mom always thought like Mr. Rogers talked down to kids. She made me watch Sesame Street because they spoke Spanish, right? Like this is kind of my mom I had, right? Like she made me watch Roots, right? I was like 8 and she made me watch Roots, right? She was singing like Everyday People from Sly and the Family Stone, instead of like kid songs. So I had this like, in my head like all the time, and I had, I was, she wanted to make sure, and she was kind of strict, right? So I was in the house at night at 7:30. I didn't hang out with these kids, on the street corners all the time. So I had this pretty diverse upbringing and got to see things a lot of white kids in my neighborhood, frankly, and in my school, my high school, my middle school, that they didn't see, that their parents didn't see. There's a lot of racism where I grew up. I talk about this a lot. Talk about this with my students. There's a lot of racism where I grew up, but my mom kept me out of that because, she wanted to make sure that I was exposed to a lot of stuff that wasn't that, and wanted to make sure I got out of it. So to make long story short, a straight answer, my mom.
And I have another one here.
She made sure that
go ahead.
I was exposed to this stuff, and
Joe, are you there?
Oh no, did we lose him?
Oh no, we lost Joe.
Phone. Probably got a phone call. Let's see. Hold on. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna get your question out. You have the question out there. So give me 1 second. Let me see.
Sorry. Did I cut off?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did for a little bit.
Did you cut me off? Sorry.
No, we didn't. We didn't cut you off.
Yeah, Josh is like, you white mother man.
Not at all. I do have another question for you.
Go ahead.
The question is, what was your most embarrassing moment as an artist, and how has it affected your craft as an artist? Now I'm also going to put the question in the chat for everyone as well, so they can see.
Most embarrassing moment.
Don't hold back either. It's like no.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to think. I mean, because it's really weird. Like, I don't, because when I go to this a lot of these events and stuff, I hang in the background. You know what I mean? Like I don't really, it's not my role to become part of this, to become part of the scene. Like I don't dance, right? When I go to these things, like I don't, right? Like I would be embarrassed to dance. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. I don't really I've never really been embarrassed in any of these situations, and I know what that must sound like. And I'm not lying. Like I don't, I might, it's a good question, and it's gonna bug me all night, and I'm gonna think about this. But like off the top of my head, I don't know, because I try to not become part of what I'm taking pictures of. Again, like I don't go into like the open mic hip hop nights. I'm not gonna get up there and do anything on mic, right? I hang back. Really, I mean, I hang back and like just chill, take pictures, and then quietly disappear into the night. Like that's how I do it. So I don't. I'm gonna get back to somebody on that, because it's gonna bug me. That's a good question. So yeah.
All right, I have another one that just came in. So how can a white ally be allies for Black photographers in opening up opportunities and door breaking and breaking down barriers?
Step back.
Step back.
We need to step back. We need to, and I try, and I'm always going to say try, because I think when you say I do this, that's hubris. And I think that's, you need, I always say try. We need to try to step back. And what I mean, and you can check my tweets. I just tweeted this yesterday. There's an opening for photo editors at NPR. And I tweeted out that white photo editors, before you hit that apply button, think about this for a minute. If you're in a situation where you don't have to, if you're not supporting the family, you're not employed, because a lot of people just do it to go up the ladder. Take a minute before you hit that apply button. Suggest it to a Black colleague and say, hey, why don't you apply for this job? Put me down as a reference. Let me know if you need me to make a phone call, because it works that way. It works that way. It works. A white person calls a white person and says, hey, look, I got a friend named Josh Levy. You should probably hook him up. It works that way. All right. It's real. That's how you be an ally, in my opinion. That's how you be an ally. I think that helping people get a leg up, I do, I try to help female photographers get work as much as I can, by stepping back. If I don't need the job, like really need it, I'm like, talk to Shay McCoy. She does events. Give her a shot. Try it out. I think that's the best way. White people reading books all day long isn't going to do stuff, right? You can read anti-racist books you can have your book clubs and sip your white wine and go to bed saying, ooh, I read Black Butterfly, I feel great. But that's not going to help anybody. That's not going to help anyone. Doing something does help people. And we can do a whole lot more to do that. And I think that's the way that you have to put it. Like someone just commented, put that into practice. And not everyone's like that. People are human. They're selfish, but I try to do what I can by helping people, get work and get shows. When I was at City Paper, there was a stigma about the photo department, and I wanted to make sure that we had a lot of female photographers. I mean, and we did it tonight with this talk. I didn't want to start off with, a mustache old guy, I mean, I really wanted to show that women were out there doing night photography before anybody else. And there's not even a book of Jessie Tarbox's work. I found her on one website. There's not even a book of her work. So go ahead. Sorry, Josh.
No, first I wanted to let everyone know, like for me personally, like you have definitely helped me, because like I remember when I was, having a show and I was like putting out, like sending emails and nothing. Like I just wanted to have a gallery show so bad. And I remember you reached out to Luann Cara, and that was like my first like show, like in a gallery. And me personally, I just wanted to say thank you for that, because that, you could have seen it. Don't give me that. Like that means a lot, like seriously. But that's exactly what I'm talking about there. Like it means the world to me.
Look,
And I always try to pay it forward.
You did it, Josh. Your work is great. You did it. All I did was make a phone call. You did it. That's your work.
Thank you. But no,
I just
thank you. And I have a last question. We're getting close to time here, but I just wanted to ask an important question. Like Baltimore, what does Baltimore mean to you, and how has this city just changed like your outlook on like what you have to do to just document everything that goes on in the city? And that's from city paper to meeting people. Like what does Baltimore mean to you, Joe?
Baltimore means I can go to any city in the world and someone tries to mug me and I can go, I'm from Baltimore, man, move out of my way. No, I'm teasing. No, I mean, Baltimore, look, man, Baltimore is a maligned city. I mean, I'm from here. I grew up here. I moved out, came back. Where I call it, and I call this in the introduction, we're this knickknack shelf for DC and New York. It's like Baltimore means to DC and New York, Baltimore means either John Waters or The Wire, right? Now that's loaded racially the way that goes, right? I mean, now, thanks to artists like Amy Sherald, right? It's starting to change, because if you just said 5 years ago, Baltimore artist, it'd have been a list of white names, right? You said Black Baltimore, I say, oh, I saw The Wire. That's 5 years ago. That's changing. So the way I see Baltimore is definitely changing. The way, my time of shooting nightlife stuff is done. This is, the book is out, and there might be another one with the rest of this stuff. But we've got, if you want to follow some good people on Instagram that do nightlife stuff, follow Pink Lloyd Wright, follow Chris, follow Baltimore Griot. They're young, Black photographer doing great nightlife stuff in their scenes. They're documenting their scenes. And now it's breaking down where I don't, I'm good. I did it. I put my project out there, and it's their time to get their voices out, So that's what Baltimore is to me. I've got some other stuff that I'm working on that you guys will see coming up pretty soon. A follow-up project, separate from this publisher, but follow-up project. Yes, I will. I'll actually I'll pull those up real quick while we're wrapping up. Does anybody have any questions about like the nighttime? I'm talking about me. I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about we got like, well, since we didn't start until technically almost 7:15, 10 after 7. I would say if anybody has any questions, I don't mind. It's up to the mods, right? What do you guys think?
Yeah, any questions? Let us know. We're here.
Yeah, because we technically didn't start at 7. We started about 10 after.
We can go to like
give
10.
the people their free money's worth, right?
You're getting a bargain.
Right.
And I'm loving everything that everyone's putting in the chat too. This has been great too. So I'm really loving everything that I'm seeing. So this is awesome.
So I'm putting Sydney's in, Baltimore Griot. Yeah.
And one of my favorite photographers in Baltimore right now is Shan Wallace. Like, Shan Wallace, do you?
Who?
Shan Wallace? Yeah, I love just everything that she's doing. Like, I'm so happy for her. Seriously.
Have you guys seen Shauna Champion?
You know what's funny? I met her yesterday. Like, she came in the store yesterday, and because I'm like, oh, I've heard the name before, and then I met her for the first time yesterday. So interesting that you bring that up. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, she belongs in Vogue, and this is another thing. If she was in New York, she'd be on the cover of W magazine. I guarantee it. But she's here, and they're not gonna hire. They just, Amy Sherald was just on the cover of Interview magazine. They had to have somebody from Brooklyn come down here and show us how to take a picture of Amy Sherald for the cover of Interview magazine. So yeah, I'll put Sean in there too. Anybody have any Other questions?
Any
Photo
questions?
questions? Technical? It's ASMP. You guys are all photographers. Anybody got any questions? I mean, you know, guys like Mike Morgan, you're a king. So he's sitting there like, shh, that lighting's horrible. Look at that thing. I don't take that lighting around like that. That's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome. Hey, Travis, you want me to like put it over to you? Any questions? I'm not seeing any questions, so you want me to send it over to you?
Sure, we can go ahead and I guess we'll cut it on time.
Go ahead.
All righty. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Sorry, my my light died. I don't know what's going on there, but thank you everyone for coming. Joe,
Mike.
thank you so much. This was it's an incredible talk. I loved the energy and the flow and the tonality of a lot of your work, and I myself can't wait to pick up the book. And I was really enjoying the dialogue that you and Josh had. So thank you everyone for your questions. I've posted the link a couple times to pre-order Joe's book at Culture Crush. Please also stay tuned. We have many more in the loops in the works. We're working on a really sweet lineup of guests. So everyone, take care. Thank you for coming. We'll see you next time.
Also, wait, one more thing. Joe's book is on pre-order. So wait,
It
it's
is on
pre-order,
pre-order.
right?
Yes.
Is it out or pre-order?
It's on pre-order. And what that means, actually, if you pre-order it, it's a signed copy. So the post pre-order ones will not be signed. You will get a nicely designed box with the book in it that will be signed, and there is a very small QR code hiding in the back of the book.
Oh,
that I highly recommend you checking out when you get the book.
you doing QR codes in your book? Okay, I see you.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, and do we have a date or like anything?
Yeah.
Yes, what's the date?
So they're gonna cut off we actually held the pre-orders for you guys. So she's gonna cut off the pre-orders the beginning of next week. Because she wanted to have it because she knew this talk was coming up. So I'm like, well, hold it a little bit. Yeah. So hopefully the boxes are supposed to come in around the 20th of March. So we're safely saying probably the first week of April, because I got the thing with, so New York just lifted their quarantine for travelers if you're vaccinated. I was up there last week. I had to fill out a whole big form. It's mostly COVID. This has been holding this up because we wanted to, for me to sign the pre-order means we're up to about 300 copies in pre-orders. So yeah,
Nice.
my publisher is very happy. That means I've got to sign them all, and I'm helping with packing. So I've got to stay like overnight to get up there. And now that they're going to lift that probably quarantine this week, so they're going to go to the printer. The printer's in New York, so they're not going to ship from overseas. So they'll have them in the box, probably March 24th. Box them up. So by the time they get mailed and get to you, probably be first week in April.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. Awesome. I'm excited, man. I'm so happy for
Me
you.
too.
It's gonna be awesome.
And if you don't pre-order, they will be available here in Baltimore in various bookstores.
And then we can hunt you down so you can sign it, right? It's like,
yeah, of course. I'm always around. I'm always available.
Gotcha.
I will sign them.
Thank you, everyone, and
Thank you guys. I really appreciate
This
it.
has been
My
awesome.
mom